to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast from three guys who talked sports together over lunch for over 10 years, probably eating a Fudgy the Whale.
A free kick. It's David Beckham, 30 yards out in the dying seconds. Everybody, cross your fingers, pray, whatever it is we have to do. Here comes David Beckham. Right.
Welcome, everybody, to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast. I'm Bryan Galloway here for episode number 55, which is double nickels if you're a bingo player, or two upside down ducks. We have from Rumson, New Jersey, Alex Shanley. How are you, Alex?
Double nickels was a Spike Lee, right? When Jordan put up 55 on the Knicks at Madison Square Garden in his comeback game. Yeah. So I'm doing good, Bri. 4 straight days of college football kicked off tonight. Rutgers against Howard. Boy, could I talk about that. But
please don't.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. But Rutgers winning big time. So it's a good night. And Coach Prime takes his team to the field tonight against North Dakota State, which if Colorado loses that,
That's a tough game. Why are they playing them the first game? North Dakota State's like a perennial power, aren't they? And
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait, we're jumping ahead. And from parts unknown, we have Michael Pipersek. How are you, Michael? Since Alex has rudely passed you by.
I'm doing great. I'm sitting here drawing 55s to see how it looks like an upside down duck.
It does. Do a 55 and turn it upside down. There you go. That's it.
Let's see it.
It's
Oh, duck.
okay.
I'm going to be able to sleep tonight, Brian.
Well, it does. If you're a enthusiast of bingo like I am, it is. Anyway, lost today, folks. Okay, so today we're here to talk about the Saskatchewan Roughriders and their big victory they had this week. No, we're not. We are here to talk about many things. But first, we're going to talk about the Little League World Series. Michael, what do you have? You had a beef about the Little League World Series. Could you please tell us you were on your beef mode? What was the problem with Little League World Series?
I am in beef mode. When I was a kid, and it was probably part of Wide World of Sports, the only Little League World Series game that you'd see was like the final, the U.S. champion against the outside the U.S. champion, which was always Taiwan. They would just hammer the U.S. team every year until whatever year that was.
Because they had because the kids were like 15 years old and they faked their passports.
Yeah, it was like Danny Almonte before Danny Almonte,
right?
But they were all from Taiwan. But now, over the last couple of years, it seems like every regional game from the U.S. and probably the international game is like on ESPN. Like they're showing all of these games, random regional games. So I'm a big complainer about how kids sports have changed and gone in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I think a lot of that is the parents and, seeing all of the, and I avoid this, right? Because if I go to the ESPN app during the day, just to check on like any big stories, they would have these regional games of the Little League World Series and the scores and like a highlight. And I would just scroll right through it because I do not want to see this stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just, I don't need kids to get that pressure. Like they're getting this attention on ESPN, all these games, which probably cool for the kids until a kid makes an error and is crying in the dugout. And then
they become, especially with the world of social media where,
who knows what's happening? Yeah.
So I can tell you right now, when ESPN started, okay, they didn't have all the rights to the big games. Right? They didn't have the rights to the NFL. They didn't have any rights really. So they would play Division III things. They would play a lot. I have to tell you, I was actually on one. I have it on a VHS when I played. Now I'm so happy that no one has this especially that you guys don't have these things to share to people.
To make fun.
But yeah, that's the thing. And so the thing is, back then they didn't have that, right? So like it was, hey, mom, turn the TV on, and get the Betamax and tape that for me because I'm on TV today. What channel is that? It's 88, channel 88. Push the button. Because remember the cable used to have, they would have a box and would have like 100 buttons and you had to push the right one. It wasn't like channels. You push the 88 button and record it. How do I record? Remember I told you how to do that. And so hopefully that she recorded it right. And then it would be a really bad copy. Then I get home, and it would just be terrible. And I look at it and like, it's just not it wasn't a good recording back then. Division III, they didn't have good cameras. See, it's a different world now because back then it was and then for a long time, they didn't care about, stuff like that. So, ESPN blew that off for so many years. Now they're bringing it back. I don't know, Mike. I just think your point about the kids and the pressure is just amplified by social media. So it's not fair I think, yes, you're right. Because what if a kid makes an error? What if a kid gives up a home run? What if something happens or a kid gets, ground ball up in his cup and he falls down on the ground? People are going to make memes out of it
Yeah,
and do all
he's
things
a
like that,
meme.
right?
Yeah.
Right? No, that's the truth, though.
No,
I like it because I think during the broadcast they often talk about the kids back at the ping pong tables playing each other and having fun, and how kind of 10 minutes after the game they're on to the next thing and just having fun and swimming in the pool and all that. And I think they do that on purpose, right? But I mean, I watch the games all the time. I keep it on. I think it's great background, and the games move very quickly. There are only 6 innings. The pitchers, it's a very wide strike zone, and I think there's a lot of discipline on the kids with the coaches, and the coaches are all mics, so they kind of keep them in line by
Really.
miking them all up. But I like it. I mean, yeah, there's pressure on them, but they chose to do it, right? They wanted to go and play on these teams, and there's months of qualifying to get in there and all that. And I think it's a win if they make it that far, right? And then after that, it's all gravy. And I think going in, you kind of mostly know who the best teams are, and the other teams battle it out for maybe third and fourth place. But I like it. I like watching it, and I like the kids getting the opportunity to be online. I mean, I think the parents can be a little overboard, like screaming and yelling, but they generally yell positive things. And I don't know. I like it. And you're right, Mike. I remember growing up, I think they played the American versus American game, and then
Championship,
they
and then the
played,
next day
and then they
was
played,
the
yeah,
final. Okay.
yeah. Because I think they even said on the broadcast, like, for the American teams, that's the big game is the American versus the American, like to win,
Mhm.
to
Well,
be
because
the
they knew they would
American
get
Little
destroyed.
League.
They knew they get destroyed in the next round against.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
anymore. Like, we've won the last 4 or 5, maybe 6. I think ever since the 70s and 80s, that's when Taiwan or
It was
Chinese
Taiwan.
Taipei,
Well,
whatever you
well,
want to
it's
say, yeah,
interesting because
would win.
Lake Mary. I go to Lake Mary for work a lot. They have this crazy like Little League complex. I looked at that and I was like, oh my goodness. And then now when they won, I was like, that's probably why, because they had this great complex. Obviously, the town puts money towards their Little League.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the tournament itself is cool. Like if I were a 12-year-old kid, I remember being a kid and thinking, "Oh, I would love to play in this thing and like be in Williamsport or whatever." So I like the concept of playing and all these kids on these all-star teams, and I'm assuming these are all-star teams, right? This is not like some random town team. This is like the best kids in the town, right? Like pulled
Yeah, it's the
together.
best kids in the town.
It's an
Best kids in
all-star
the town.
team. So I think it's really cool to be able to play in that. Like the bone I have to pick is like every game doesn't have to be on ESPN. They put like the whole thing, it seems like, is on
Yeah,
ESPN.
it would be really cool if like the final 8 were on ESPN. So then it meant something, right? You made it to the TV game.
Yeah, but I think
Like
I think it's strategic, right? It's like a dead time of year for sports. Like there's nothing really going. Like football hasn't started yet, and baseball, you're kind of in the doldrums of the summer, and it's not really pennant race time, and so I think that it kind of spans that 2-week period for them, and gives them some content. I think honestly that's why they do it. But
yeah, okay. Well, I mean, again, it's not
I
bad. It's not bad, but I see Mike's point. I also see your point, so I'm kind of in the middle either way.
I
I
say,
wish they did it for other kids' sports though. They don't do like kids hockey or kids basketball. They don't use
they
like YM. They don't have like YM like YMCA basketball on ESPN.
I think they show cheerleading.
Yeah, they do a lot of
Like
cheerleading,
from
but that's on
Disney.
the Ocho, Bry. Is when
Yeah,
they
the
show
Ocho.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Would you rather watch cornhole, the Jack Links cornhole, or would you rather watch Little League?
Those
Well, did
cornhole
you
guys
see
never
how it ended?
miss.
The Little League, the championship
Yeah, yeah,
game,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
1-1 into the eighth, and then the kid bunted, and
Yep, it was
it
cool.
was
No, it
thrown to
was.
first base, and there was nobody at first base to catch it.
Oh, it was
But
great. That game
yeah,
was great. I'm not gonna tell you it wasn't great. I always watch the final,
yeah,
but I just don't watch I don't watch the early preliminaries. I just don't
yeah.
have a reason to do that.
I usually watch like if the New Jersey team's in it, and try to follow them along, and then see who's like Hawaii's been really good the last few years. They lost this year. Florida's always good. Texas is usually good.
Yeah.
New Jersey or New York usually put in pretty good teams.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, again, and these other, the one thing about baseball compared to other sports is there's not that many teams around the world that play baseball. There are a lot more than there used to be. There are a lot, way more than there used to be. But even like, so 20 years ago, there was like China, Japan, Taiwan. I mean, were there other teams that played baseball? Now there's a lot more that are playing, which is good because it's still not a global sport like soccer or something like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the South American countries obviously played.
You don't see like a bunch of, skinny, underfed kids coming from the Ethiopian team coming into play, or like that doesn't happen. You don't see. There's some countries they don't even have little league, but
Yeah,
it's not like the Bad News Bears either, because like with the Bad News Bears, Mike, that was a team they actually were a team, and they won the championship of their town or whatever, or their league, and then they got moved, went to the big tournament, right? So they got to keep their team intact. It wasn't like an all-star team.
the Bad News
Remember
Bears.
the Bad News Bears, right? I love the
Well,
Bad News
I
Bears.
remember them losing to the Yankees, right?
Yeah,
And that was the last game. Didn't they then go to Houston after that with Jimmy Bayo in
yeah,
the
they
yeah.
did.
band?
Yeah, Jimmy Bayo, Jimmy Bayo, not Scott Bayo,
Not
Jimmy
Scott
Bayo.
Baio. They couldn't even get
Whatever
Scott.
happened to Jimmy Bayo? I remember you had a poster of him in your office, Mike.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Jimmy
cool.
Bayo. But yeah, no, but okay. So Little League overkill on ESPN? Yes or no? I don't know what you guys think. Mike thinks yes.
I say
Alex
no.
thinks
Yeah.
no. Brian's like in the middle.
Come on, Brian, take a stand.
No, I'm not taking a stand. I do like. I did watch the final, so I can't say I didn't watch that.
I will say that one of the best finals was in 1989. Remember Chris Drury, who played for the Rangers?
Yeah,
Yes.
And I think the U.S. had lost like a bunch. I think, Alex, that was in that string where
yeah.
Chinese Taipei won like 18 out of 19 or something ridiculous. And Chris Drury, who was kind of like a chubby kid and like a junk baller, like pitched them to like a huge upset. It was like a big upset for Trumbull, Connecticut, when they beat them. And then I remember when Chris Drury became like an NHL player, they were talking. I was like, oh my God, that's that little chubby kid from Trumbull, Connecticut. And that was
Yeah,
like,
he was a tough hockey player, man.
yeah, good hockey player. Now he's
He
the
played for
GM, right?
he won Stanley Cups with the Avalanche, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with the Rangers, but he played good with the Rangers too. He played really good with the Rangers.
But the countries that are in it, right? Aruba, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Cuba, Curacao, Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, France, West Germany or Germany, Greece, Guam, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Netherlands, Nicaragua. There's a lot. Panama, Philippines, Poland, Puerto Rico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Spain.
Russia, they allowed Russian team to come over.
Well, they've all played in the Little League World
Oh,
Series.
okay.
Yeah, 2001 they were in it. Turkey,
Saudi Arabia, they have
Venezuela.
uh,
Yeah,
Venezuela. That's a baseball.
Yeah.
That's not a baseball hotspot.
yeah.
I was in Aruba a month ago. I didn't see anybody playing baseball, so I'm guessing they didn't do well. Or don't do well.
They've had 2 appearances.
Those bamboo bats don't hit very well. Yeah.
They're 1 and
It's a
2.
palm frond.
I love Brian's definition of these countries. Bamboo bats. Like,
No. And again, my brother's not on here. So one time my dad took us to Jamaica, and again, these are things that you don't appreciate as you're growing up. But there was one summer he got it. His friends loaned us a bungalow in Jamaica, and we went there for like 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, you kind of get bored. So we would take big pieces of bamboo and we play baseball with them, and we crack the coconut. Like you hit the coconut. So the bamboo wouldn't last that long. It'd take a couple, after a couple hits, they would crack. It would crack. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest bat, but that's all we had. But I remember we had a whole league and everything. We used to have a lot of fun with that. So yes, the bamboo bats. That's the thing.
Jamaican wiffle ball.
Yeah, Jamaican wiffle ball. Yeah, and my
Sounds
dad
like
was like,
Fred
my dad was like,
Flintstone.
my dad was like, we spent all this money to come on the trip, and you guys are playing baseball with a coconut and a bamboo stick. Like, what the heck is this? It was the funniest thing in the world. Like, he was just like, he couldn't believe that that's what we would do. We're at this beautiful island with a beautiful place. We're doing that.
Gilligan's Island playing
Yeah,
baseball.
That's a Gilligan's Island.
yeah. No, I think back now, I was like, we just were so bored. We were just kids, and we were bored. We can only do so much, snorkeling and hanging out on the beach.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So that's that. The next thing, what's the next thing we want to talk about? We want to talk about.
I
Oh,
know you
okay.
want to talk
So
about
Kobayashi's coming along.
that.
So, are we all well prepped up for that? When is that actual?
It's Labor
Like,
Day.
when is Labor Day? Wait, in a
Monday
couple
at,
days?
yeah, Monday at noon. I think it's at noon on
It's on
Netflix.
Netflix.
On Netflix only. Yeah. This is like the
Oh,
battle. This is the brawl to settle it all. It's like the rumble in the jungle of food.
have they been? Have they been? See, I have not been keeping up with that. I forgot that it was coming up.
I love that it's titled. So we're talking about Joey Chestnut versus Kobayashi eating contest. It's called Unfinished Beef.
But they're eating hot dogs.
Now,
Yeah.
So
as
is
much
it
as I
beef?
as much as I think Joey Chestnut is a great American hero, and I think it's amazing. I think you think about this guy. Any sport you have that you can be so dominant for so many years. Now, is it a sport? Well,
No, it's not a
it's
sport.
very similar to golf. It's kind of like, I think, it's along those same lines.
It's
But
similar to golf.
it's
Oh.
golf, tennis. Tennis has a little bit of running.
No,
No,
tennis.
yeah, okay.
Tennis. What
Tennis is more of okay. Golf, um,
Darts,
bowling, and
darts,
hot dog eating. Yeah, they're all the same. They're
cornhole.
activities. Yeah. So that to me, that's just anybody that can can have a gigantic beer gut and still be competitive in this sport or this activity is that's not a real it's not a real sport. Okay, so that's true. I am rooting for Kobayashi because I just think I always liked Kobayashi. I thought he was the
But
coolest
we
guy.
have to set this up a little bit, right? Our
Yeah.
audience may not
Oh, go
know,
ahead.
right? So, Mike, do you want to set it up? You want me to set it up?
Go ahead, Alex.
So, Netflix is hosting a Joey Chestnuts versus, how do you say his first name? Takura Kobayashi eating contest,
Yes.
1-on-1. So it's a 10-minute contest to eat most hot dogs and buns. No dunking or pouring water on hot dogs and buns. No
That's big.
separation of hot dogs from buns, which Kobayashi used to do, I think. He used to take the hot dogs out, right, and eat the hot dogs and then eat the buns later.
Yeah, you dunk them, right? You dunk
yeah.
Did you dunk them?
Penalty may be issued for breaking the rules or puking. 30 seconds to finish what's left in your mouth at the end of the 10 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. So it's 1-on-1. And I think Joey Chestnut is going to crush him. I don't even think it's going to be a contest.
Really? Yeah, because
Oh, yeah. He crushed
Kobayashi
him every year.
He hasn't been doing it for such a long time.
Yeah.
But he's just been training, right? He has to have just been training.
How do you train? Like, what do you train? You go to buffets? I mean,
Yes,
You
actually,
eat
yes.
heads of lettuce. They
Everything.
eat heads of lettuce to expand their stomach. Yeah.
There was a documentary
Yeah.
one time on Kobayashi.
no, I did see that documentary. But I
Yeah.
didn't remember they ate heads of lettuce.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like the whole head?
They eat,
Okay, so
they,
let's. So
they
what's your?
eat the whole
So
thing.
so Alex, you're going for Joey. I'm going for Kobayashi. Mike.
I'm calling an upset. I think Kobayashi's going to find a way.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
been.
let's
I feel
put something on this, boys.
he's been lying in
A
wait
hot
here,
dog.
and I think this whole like not dunking them thing is gonna.
You don't even like hot dogs, Alex.
I like them. I just
Oh.
don't eat them.
Are they all beef hot dogs?
I don't think they are. I mean, it depends. Well, they're probably not. They're probably not doing Nathan's because Joey lost his Nathan's contract, right?
Yeah.
Are they gonna be like ballpark Franks?
Ballpark. Well, they plump when they cook them? No, I don't think they want to have them in their stomach. They expand like that. See, that's another whole thing. That's a whole discussion. We could have a whole podcast on that. How do the hot dogs plump? Like, what's in those? Like, what is in those to make them
Moisture.
like that? I don't
Water.
understand.
It's just
I know.
water.
I was at a friend's house and I'm like watching. I'm like, what is going on? Those supposed to be mutant hot dogs. Why are they jumping? He goes, oh, they're ballpark pranks. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't look safe. Like, if they plump up like that, obviously they're not going to be one of our sponsors when they hear this. But I just don't know if that looks safe. Like, what is in those hot dogs that causes them to go like that?
There's
Yeah,
a
to me, I'm a big Thurman's and like it's got to be the kosher with the casing. I don't like any of these other kind of hot dogs. I just don't think they're all like I want if I'm gonna have a hot dog, it's gotta be a real hot dog, and not these other things. These are pretend hot dogs. I hate when you go over to somebody's house. They're like, "Hey, you want some hot dogs?" And they're like, "What the hell is this thing?" You know. But yeah, I'm a big. If you come to my house and I have hot dogs, you're yours, and you get the nice, the good ones. But
I have this feeling when I read that rule about no dunking in water, and they said Kobayashi suggested it. I was like, he's got to have a reason for that.
well,
So
because yeah, he was not the first one to dunk. He used to separate, and then somebody else dunked, and then Kobayashi did a good job with that, and he was doing good. But then Joey came in, and then they would dunk the whole thing.
the
It
whole
just became a
bunch.
disaster. It becomes a disaster. It's a mess when they do
It,
that too.
they win a WWE made custom championship belt,
Wow.
What if they
which
tie?
which isn't the mustard belt. There's a 3 minute overtime if they tie.
Oh, okay.
Oh
So
my
there's
God! I
no.
got to eat for 3 more minutes.
Yeah, isn't there a mustard belt though that you win it for
That's
Nathan's? Or am I
Nathan's, yeah,
doing
the
that?
mustard
Yeah,
belt.
yeah.
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 Mm.
I just think to me, it was such a blah this year's event because Joey wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the other none of these other people have a real good and there was like a controversy too, but none of these people have like a personality. That's the one thing between Joey and Kobayashi. They had a personality, so you tuned in either you rooted for them or you rooted against them. That's what sports is, right? We all know that sports. You root for somebody, you root against somebody,
Yeah, but he's
and
so dominant too. It's like if he's not there, well, he would have won anyway.
but then he's he's a real American hero. So I just
I don't buy
I
that.
don't
Let me
I
ask
mean
you a question, Brian.
Captain Hot Dog.
In terms of American heroes, would you say Kobayashi or Joey Chestnut is above or below the equivalent of Con Air?
well,
Below.
no, yeah, it might be below, but yeah, that's another. Oh, there we go.
This is
There we go.
Kobayashi coming out of retirement. He retired in May, so 4 months ago. So he's coming out of retirement. So he's like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan coming back for one last hurrah.
How is that really? He retired in May. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
What he missed? He missed something in June and July. I mean, come on.
Well, there might have been a big ramen eating or something, or meatball, or like they had all these. They have like
They have brains.
like yeah,
Cow brains.
Polish kibasi eating contest. They have and the Allentown Fair is this weekend, so I think they're gonna have. They have something there this weekend. I think they have rib eating or something.
Kobayashi ate 17 pounds of cow brains in 15 minutes.
Oh, it's disgusting. I couldn't even eat, like that's it. I would be that contest would be there, and I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm out.
About 41 lobster rolls in 10 minutes. 41.
And that's with the bread.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
And that's a lot of butter.
Yeah.
In that brain eating contest, when he ate 17 pounds, everybody else ate 0.
Yeah.
They were like, "Wait, what?"
That's like on Survivor when they have the one episode where okay, here you go, and they have like, the giant bugs or here's a giant beetle from Tanzania and whatever, or they have brains or they have some kind of weird thing like that, little testicles of a Egyptian monkey. Here you go, and then the guys have to eat it. I could never. That's like that kind of stuff. I could never do.
It'd be better if they did the competition like Iron Chef style, where they actually pull out. The contestants don't know what they have to eat, and then they pull it out and surprise them.
Oh, that would be nice
right?
too.
Like you have to eat, I don't know, Swedish meatballs or what's something pork chops, like something wacky.
Him sausage. Mike likes his.
Yeah, he's sausage boy.
Yeah, he goes to go get his. Yeah, he loves those. He loves those Hilton breakfasts where you get unlimited sausage.
Every time I go to a hotel now and I open up those things, if it's sausage, that's what I think of. And I don't remember if I took.
Where is that picture? That was a great picture too.
Yeah, that was.
Is there a picture?
Yeah, you took it afterwards. It was afterwards. You took it as a joke afterwards, but it
Well,
was
that'd
good.
be great because I barely have gray hair. If it's from back then, that'd be awesome. I'd
You
love to
didn't
see
have gray hair.
very little. But how much
Yeah.
are these guys getting paid for this competition?
Oh, tons. Netflix,
It
they pay a
the
lot of
site doesn't say, but it just says they win the belt. I thought where it says what do they win, I
there.
figured there'd be
Believe me, they're
money,
getting
but
paid. They're
yeah,
getting paid.
yeah, they're both getting paid, so it doesn't
It's
really
it's
matter.
Netflix. Netflix pays very well, so they'll be fine. I mean, again,
So
you're
what do we got on this? It's you two against me.
I don't
I'm
know because
saying
while we've been talking, I was kind of like doing a little bit of googling here, and Kobayashi was in a Netflix documentary, "Hack Your Health: The Secrets of Your Gut," and all of his quotes in here tell me that he may eat 3 hot dogs and just start crying and give up because he says
he just
he
went
does
for the payday.
he doesn't feel hunger. His wife said he thinks he might be broken. He doesn't feel hungry or full. I'm like reading this. I'm like, uh-oh, I picked this guy. He's gonna get crushed. He might get crushed.
I think it's lunch. You guys got to buy me lunch.
okay. Well, what hot dog place? What's your favorite hot dog
Yes,
place in Red Bank?
we'll take him to
You got to bring
Gigi's.
me to Rippers, Bri. You always talk about
Rippers.
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 Where is that?
I don't know. Someplace Brian talked about like they make Rippers. They're like fried hot dogs or something.
No,
Me?
Remember that?
I didn't talk
Yeah.
about that. No, that wasn't
No?
me.
that sounds like
No,
a
that was
Brian
some other.
thing.
That was some
I
other
think
Brian. That
it's a famous place in New Jersey.
Oh, I know it's when it's North Jersey. I know what you're talking about though.
You're talking about Rutt's Hut, are you?
Rutt's Hut. That's
Yeah, I
it.
think
Rippers.
that's it.
Rutt's
Yeah.
Hut.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there you go. It's in
Yeah,
Clifton.
you've talked about that before, right?
No, I don't.
No?
I've been there, but that's not one of my favorite. I would rather. There's other. Texas Wiener #1, man, in Plainfield. The worst section of Plainfield. That place, the best hot dogs, but it's just you have to live through it. But it's you have to like last time I went there, I parked my car and I came back and there was like 3 people leaning against my car. Yeah, that Texas Wiener #1 though is still amazing. If you ever
I'll
try it.
pass.
There's a hot grill in
I'll
Clifton. Texas Wieners and Hot Grill in Clifton, another famous spot for hot dogs.
We can
Yeah.
we can go to Max's.
Oh, there you go.
I like Max's.
Yeah.
I like Max's a lot. That's one of my. That's maybe my second favorite. I'm not a Windmill guy. Windmill's okay.
They have good cheese fries.
They do.
That's a
but
2 a.m.
That's another
place.
thing that's terrible for you.
Oh
cheese
yeah,
fries.
yeah.
My daughters get cheese fries all the time. Like, what are you guys eating that crap for?
Those are
Okay,
bad.
so we're totally digressing here. Yeah, so okay. So the deal is, if Kobayashi wins, Alex buys us lunch. If Joey Chestnut wins, we buy Alex lunch.
Yeah.
That's good. For us, we get to split it, so we don't have to pay
Yeah,
as much.
And if Joey wins by more than 20, you each have to buy me lunch.
Oh
Okay,
God.
that's fair. There's no way this guy could lose by more than 20 hot dogs. That's like those Super Bowls when the NFC used to beat the AFC by like 50 every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not going to happen.
It can't possibly happen.
Okay, so everybody hears this. That it's part of the podcast. We can't hide. Let's see what happens there. Okay. So the next topic. What do you want to talk about next, Mike? You got a couple different things. I just want to make sure what is the one that you really want to talk about, because there was a couple that were really good this week.
Let's talk Premier League, right? We haven't
Yes.
talked soccer probably.
We haven't, and we have to really. We should. And you guys like your Premier League. I do. I'm not going to tell you I don't like it. So, go ahead. Talk about what do you think? Who wants to go first there?
I can kick this off. Alex and I, you may not know this, Brian, but we root for 2 rival teams from the same city. So, Alex, you're a Liverpool fan, right?
Yes.
So
Mhm.
he's the good side of Liverpool, of Merseyside, the red side, and I root for Everton, who is the blue side and has fought off relegation desperately the last 2 years, and 2 games in, and they're dead last, right? And awful. So I'm feeling like you, Brian, as a Jets fan, where I'm like, these guys can't do anything right. Can't sign anyone worth a damn, desperate for a striker, and they just keep signing defensive midfielders and backs, and they just re-signed a 40-year-old goalie to back up Jordan Pickford. But I'm not going to go there yet. I'll talk about my awful team.
They
So I have a
always
que-
have a good goalie. Everton always has a great goalie.
Yeah, Tim Howard. Yeah, they've had
Yeah.
Tim Howard for a long
They
time.
play very defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Southampton's back, right?
Well, last year they had a good year.
Well, they got regulated. Southampton got regulated, didn't they?
Yeah, they got relegated. They're not. They had a terrible season last
But
year.
they're back now, I think.
Oh,
I like Southampton.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Newcastle.
Yeah,
Newcastle had,
Southampton's
yeah,
6. They've got 2 losses so far, but
yeah,
only
Yeah, but last year they were in the other league. But yeah, I'm a fan of Brighton Hove Albion, and that's because I worked in Brighton and I like that. That's why I like them because
Amex, right?
yeah, when I was there, they were not even in this league. They were actually lower, much lower. They played like outdoors, and people were in like lawn chairs watching the game. And then they ended up getting, they won, and they got to the next level, and they got money, and they got this gigantic stadium now. So that's my
American
team.
Express sponsors it too.
Yeah, the Amex Stadium. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
they sponsor that whole town. There's like nothing in that town but American Express.
Hmm.
There's Amex Tower. It's the only thing there. It's the
Hmm.
Queen Summer Home and the Amex Tower. There's like nothing in Brighton. And they have a waterfront. And they have like looks like it's kind of like Seaside Heights, but a little bit cheesier. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's I like that team. So I was thinking of getting a shirt, but then I think I always worry about if I get a shirt now that some of the players are going to stink. Because whenever shirt I get, the players stink.
I
Just get one
recommend
without a
getting
number.
one without a number because these
Yeah.
players are constantly being transferred and sold and moving all over the place. So it's a
Yeah.
risky move unless you get a superstar. And if you're rooting for Brighton, there's a chance that their star players are going to be gone because I think
Yeah.
wasn't Leandro Trossard on that team and then he went to Arsenal. I think that's where he was. I think he was in Brighton for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with the Premier League and, many leagues, it's just all about the money, right? Like whoever has the most money is top of the standings. So Man City being a good example of that. But go ahead, Mike, I'll let you continue.
Yeah, they're a great example of that. But when you look at the table and who's going to be in those top 4 Champions League spots, it's generally the powers. Last year you had a surprise where Aston Villa came in 4th place. They're kind of mid-table now, but we're only 2 games into the season. So looking at the table and who are the candidates to qualify for Champions League, it's always Man City, right? They throw so much money. Their roster is loaded. Like
Yeah.
the guys that do not even dress for games would start for pretty much every other Premier League team. It's incredible, like watching that team. Great manager and Pep Guardiola. Tons of money. If you saw the All or Nothing series on Amazon, where they talked about Man City, and you see the facilities and what they have in terms of the training grounds, the food, everything is top notch there. So Man City
And Pep,
always,
Pep doesn't play. He plays a very short bench.
yeah.
He goes, so even like Mike said, those guys sitting on the bench, they're not even, they'll play in these much lesser games, but they really won't even play.
Yeah, like a good example is Jack Grealish, right?
Yep.
A massive signing a couple of years ago from Aston Villa, I think, right? Paid a ton of money in transfer fees, which these smaller clubs they'll sell these rising stars to big clubs, and they take that money and if they reinvest it well, they're purchasing 4 or 5 players off of one. So Aston Villa has been very good, qualified for Champions League this year, probably because they invested well with the money they got from Grealish. But Jack Grealish was a terrific player at Aston Villa, came over to Manchester City as one of the rising stars in all of English soccer. He was on, didn't make the he did not make this European Championship team, but the prior one he did. He barely plays now, and I think he's now been unseated by Jeremy Doku, who they signed. I don't know where they got him from, but he's a fantastic talent. So Man City always in contention. They're already off to a 2-0 start. 6 goals for, 1 goal against. They've got Erling Haaland, who's a premier striker in the world right now. Scores 30 goals a year, probably in a 38 game season. I'm hoping that Arsenal can unseat them this year. They came within 2 points of winning the Premier League last year. Mikel Arteta is their manager, former Man City assistant, working with Pep Guardiola. I think he's done a really good job with Arsenal. They're off to a great start. They actually play Brighton this weekend, which should be a great game for Brighton to see how they stack up against the big boys and whether they can compete for the Champions League. But then I saw today Arsenal is interested in signing Raheem Sterling from Chelsea, who was also a former Man City player, a great striker up top for Man City kind of lost his spot when Erling Haaland came, only 29 years old. Now Chelsea's fallen out of favor there. Arsenal may swoop in. So to Alex's point, it's these big clubs are just swooping in to grab whomever they can. So Man City, definitely they're a top two contender. Arsenal as well. Liverpool, I think, is going to be in the mix, even though they've got a new coach, a little bit different now without Jurgen Klopp there. And then I would think I'm going to say that fourth spot, I think Brighton's got a really good shot. Tottenham's always in the mix, but they seem to fade as the season goes on. So I'm going to predict very early it's going to be Man City and Arsenal playing for the top spot. Liverpool will be there, and then Brighton's my kind of dark horse to get into the top four.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal and Man City they're heads above everybody else, I think. And Liverpool's getting old, right? So Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, they're old, but they do have a good young core. So I think they're going to kind of reload after Jurgen Klopp and we'll leaving. We'll see how they do in the next few years. But one team you didn't mention, Newcastle United, Mike. I think they had a decent season last year, and I think they're going to be in the mix this year for the number 4 spot, ahead of Tottenham. You can never really count out Man United, but I don't know. I like Newcastle to move up. The teams that I also support, I kind of look at the table and you have to pick a top 6 team to follow, which I did in Liverpool. And then, if you look at the mid table and the lower table, I always liked Leicester. I think it was a great story.
That was a great year.
Yeah, they're going to get relegated this year, I think. They don't really have much. Jamie Vardy is 37 years old.
He scored against Tottenham. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He scored.
He can still score, right? But it's just I just think they kind of they sold off a lot of their guys a few years ago, and he's stuck around, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So Nottingham Forest had a pretty good year last year as well. But I like to root for Leicester, and we'll see what happens with them. And it's always a great year. It's always a great time to watch soccer right when it gets started.
Because you're trying to figure out, So I know again. How does it go? Premier League, and what's the next league below that?
Championship,
and then below that,
League One.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where Wrexham's in League One.
Yeah, so they're like if they get promoted this season again, because what's it, 3 years in a row now they've been promoted?
Yeah.
So if they get promoted, let's say after this season they get promoted, then they're just one division away from the Premier League.
Yeah,
which is pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. And did you see Paul Mullen, their best player? He was in Deadpool as one of the.
Was he really?
He was in a Dutch. I mean, sorry, a Welsh Deadpool. He was the Welsh Deadpool. That was great.
But it shows you again, money.
Money buys everything.
Work.
Every time they needed a new player, those guys would come up with the money and they pay for it and they get a new player.
They've got to be throwing tons of money at Paul Mullen, because how has nobody else picked him up? Like
I know that.
Like anyone else, he wants to.
Second of all, the whole family issues, right? Like he has his kid and he wants to.
So obviously, Alex, you've been watching that, huh? I
watched the first 2 seasons.
You gotta like Paul Mullen.
What does he have? What are the issues?
His son, that's why he joined Wrexham, right? Because he could have gotten signed other places, because he came from he came down from League One. He was in League One, and he came down to join Wrexham because his son has autism, and
I didn't know that.
He's from the area, and he wanted to move back and be able to see his son more, and he knew playing with Wrexham would afford him that. So
that's a great story.
So that's kind of why he did it.
Yeah, I think that they're doing. I think they're giving him a lot of money. Because again, like if you're that guy and you're on on TV all the time, plus you get to go and play, be a decent, like a named role on Deadpool, which is crazy. I couldn't believe that was him until I saw that afterwards. But that was cool. So here's another thing I just noticed. I was looking at this because I remember when I was there working in Brighton. So Brighton was in the 4th league, whatever that is. So that's really low, and they moved up from that since like 1999, 2000. They moved up all the way to the Premier League. That's amazing. But that shows you can do it.
And they've moved, like they qualified for Premier League, I think 4 years ago, maybe, and they've moved up the table, so they're like mid-table team now.
Who's that? Brighton?
Brighton, yeah,
They're good. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
just saying, like,
they're good.
Mike, I'm telling you, I got to go find. I have pictures. We used to go to games and we, because they didn't have seats, you had to bring lawn chairs, and you would just sit there and watch the game, and you would have a beer, and they'd be playing. Like it was like playing out at at a high school.
They got that Amex money now, though. Like Alex
Yeah,
was
but
saying,
just
right?
it's amazing. It's amazing how. But I love that because that's just almost like the Somerset Patriots. They start getting some money, and all of a sudden they get into the Major League Baseball. Like that would be the coolest thing in the world. Uh, but it's never going to happen.
But just to give you perspective, right? Brighton's payroll is 51 million pounds. Man City's is 200 million pounds.
Yeah.
So they're spending 4 times the amount of money. Arsenal, 175 million. Chelsea, 167. United, 167. Liverpool, 123. Tottenham, 112. That's generally your top 6 teams. They're all spending the most money. Newcastle's up there at 96. I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain that.
That's it. I thought they'd spend more because they've got all that Saudi money. That's what pushed them into the
Yep.
Champions League last
Yep.
year, right? Like they had
Yep.
that massive influx of cash, but they have not spent it on big stars though. When they made it to the Champions League, they did it with solid players from a lot of teams. Like I think their biggest name guy was probably Kieran Trippier. Um, who they got from Tottenham, I think, right? Was he on Tottenham for a while? Trippier?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. And then their manager was Eddie Howe, who I think
Yeah.
was the Bournemouth manager for a long time.
He's good. He's good.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it, after the money, it really becomes coach and philosophy, right? Like if the players buy into their philosophy, because there's all these nuances in soccer, right? Like how you play, how you set up your alignment on the field. Are you going to play defensive? Are you going to attack? There's all these nuances, and these coaches bring all these different philosophies. And these coaches with great philosophies that begin to win, they then get the best jobs. Like Pep is a good example. So, and really, Pep can go coach wherever he wants, around the world. I mean, they'll pay him whatever money. He basically just picks his job and he gets it. And then he brings his philosophy to that team, and he, moves players around. A player that may have been playing, let's say, left back, all of a sudden maybe moves up to a midfield position or vice versa. And because that's the way that he wants to play in his philosophy, whether it's players going from the back line all the way up and attacking, or, just sitting back and, letting the attack come to you and then countering. So there's a lot to learn if you're new to it. But, it's kind of a cool experience. And, I would definitely, the games are great because they're early in the morning. So you can kind of flip it on before football on a Sunday and watch a game.
So great. I love that about it, right?
Yeah. But Everton, Mike, 64 million pounds. So they're, kind of in the middle of the bracket in spending. But that's probably where they'll end up. Hopefully this year they'll kind of work their way up the table.
Who was Chris Rugg's favorite team?
He was Liverpool, I think.
Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, Everton, it's similar, Brian, to being a Jets fan, like being an Everton fan. Like this team is so inept at scoring, and every season they don't sign a striker. Every single year.
Yeah.
And they just signed a guy today, and I'd never heard of the player. And the comments on Instagram were all these degrading comments like, oh, sign a striker. They signed this guy. He's a defensive midfielder. I'm like, this team hasn't even come close to scoring in their first 2 games. Lowest scoring team in the Premier League last year, barely squeak by, and they will not sign a striker. I'm like, throw money at, I don't care, Olivier Giroud. He's like 35. Throw money at that guy. Just please.
Where are they located in the country? Like, are they
in
south,
Liverpool?
north?
They're in
They're
Liverpool.
Oh, they're right near Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are in Liverpool. So there's 2 teams in
Oh.
Liverpool. So like
Yeah.
when they play, it's the Merseyside derby. Liverpool is red, Everton is blue, and Everton actually beat Liverpool last.
But they play in the same stadium?
No, they've got their own stadium. Everton's actually moving into a new stadium next season on the dock, on Brantford Dock, and they were saying this team better get it together, otherwise we'll be playing in the championship in a brand new stadium. They're gonna, because if a team gets dropped, like Alex was saying, when Leicester fell out of the Premier League, all of their players wanted to leave, all their better players.
Of course they do. Of course they do, right?
So James Madison was a terrific player. Where is he now, Alex? He's on Chelsea or Man United?
I'm not sure.
Madison.
I'm not sure.
No, Mason Mount went to Chelsea. Yeah, so they lost and then Yuri Tielemans, who was another one of their better players, he left as well. So as soon as they drop Bryan out of the Premier League, where they're not playing at the top flight, no chance in the Champions League, all the guys want to leave. And so then it gets harder to get out of the Championship and back into the Premier League because you lost a lot of your stronger players who wants to be transferred. So at least hopefully you collect transfer fees and you could reinvest it. But to reinvest, a lot of these players I want to play in the Premier League, not in the Championship. So
So I'm looking. It's way up northwest. Oh God, that's way up there. Okay, Everton, Liverpool.
Home of the Beatles, Liverpool.
Yeah.
But
It's above the top of Wales. Like it's far up. Pretty interesting. I didn't know that. Look at that. I learned something new today. I like that.
Yeah, you could watch Bryan. You could watch 2 games and you're done by noon. On Saturday or Sunday. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the games move along. They're always well attended. There's all the houses seem to be full.
Yeah. I usually watch AFL on weekends. So morning. I like weekend mornings. I like Australian rules football. I like. So I watch that a lot on weekends. That I like. Again, same thing. I like it. But that's usually 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. What time do their Premier League games start?
7:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 5-hour difference. They're starting at 12:30 England time, basically.
And then there's usually one game later.
Yeah, one game later. One game on Monday. A lot of times there's a Monday game at 3 o'clock. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did Nottingham Forest get a sponsor on their team yet this year?
I think they got one in the middle of last season, near the latter half of the
I just
season.
love the plain red shirt with the little tree on that.
They had no
It looked like they were 1970s.
Wait. A Premier League team had no sponsor?
No sponsor. Nope.
No sponsor on the jersey.
Yeah.
You would think somebody would want to sponsor them.
It was when they first came up, they didn't have a sponsor.
Okay.
I think they got one as the season progressed, but then the sponsors changed, Bryan. So to your point about jerseys, if you bought this year's jersey of whatever team, next season they may have a different sponsor. So your jersey's known to be out of date. They change them, obviously the collar.
Do sponsors change teams sometimes too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
And there's a lot of American sponsors, right? Like Chevy sponsored Man United for many years. Jeep.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's pretty interesting.
Cayenne Sports.
Yeah.
Is the sponsor for Nottingham. Asian sports book. And a lot of betting. A lot of Bet365. They sponsor the teams like crazy.
Yeah, half the league is sponsored by betting sites, and then you have Ivan Toney from Brentford getting suspended for betting for 6 months. They banish him. Well, there's betting everywhere. When you're watching a game, the advertising boards, half of the advertisers are betting sites as well.
Oh my God! Yeah, England. There's betting parlors all over the place.
Yeah.
I've never saw anything like it. It's way worse. Nothing. I remember we used to have OTB. They don't even have OTB anymore, do they? I've never seen that. I don't see that anymore.
Off-track betting.
Yeah, remember they used to have it all over the place. You'd have OTB.
Yeah, they still do. I think they're still around.
Really?
Oh yeah. Because there were places called the Turf Club and stuff you could go. Yeah, they still have it.
That's amazing. All the dredges would hang out in there, man. You walk in there, there's smoke. Everybody's smoking and making bets, and they haven't taken a shower. It was really that was a place was bad.
Picking up tickets off the floor, hoping that
yeah. Okay, everybody. So I think that was a great episode. It was a little fun. We learned some things about soccer. We learned some things about the Premier League. Anything else? Alex, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
Before we're going to promote next week, we're going to actually have a guest on. So Griffin Prock is going to join us, and we're going to talk NFL. So he's a sports whiz on Threads and has his own podcast. So he's going to join us next week. So look for that episode coming out shortly. And you can find us on Threads. That's where we spend most of our time posting. We're 3 The Hard Way Sports on Threads and 3 The Hard Way Sports on Instagram, as well as Facebook. So those are all the best places to find us. But our podcasts can be downloaded from Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can download a major your favorite podcast, you can find ours. So download us and listen.
Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Great episode. Take
Have a
care.
great day.
Good night.
Go Liverpool.